What that problem is, I have no idea. I probably won't be posting this one. Oh, it's better now, huh? Or not? That's better. Oh, I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was. Yeah, Anderson Silva's in the house again, but I'm not showing my face today, just in case Vitor Belfort's looking for me. Ah, it must have been. Yeah, anyway. Good, so let's get into this. So everyone grab a piece of paper. Sorry about that, and thank you to those that actually hung in there with me. So let's get into hatching. So hatching is I suppose you could call it, it's more like a fine tuning skill. So you have to really concentrate. It's a very basic skill. However, there are levels to everything, right? So what I would recommend is simply drawing lines like this when your pen starts to work. So I would simply draw lines like this. This is something I do quite a lot, right? So you might think, oh, this is a little bit boring, but this, with this kind of practice, then you get these kind of results. Do you see what I'm saying? So hang in there with me. So now what I'm doing here is trying to get these lines as parallel as possible. And obviously they're going to get a bit wonky. If I'm doing it really fast, they get even worse, which is okay. And you also have to work out what is your best direction. If it's going downwards like that, or if it's going upwards. Some people go upwards, like so. Like here, I went from left to right. Now I'm going to try light from right to left. Do you see what I mean? These are small fine-tuning skills that you have to put together. So that now you can do the same again up from, let's go from bottom to top and see how it feels, right? So you see, that doesn't feel right to me. You can see the lines are a little bit shaky. But when I go from top to bottom, I've got more control of the pen. Do you see what I'm saying? Is everyone getting that? Is everyone getting that? Let me see if there are any. Thank you for the very, very kind gifts. Is everyone getting that? So when you're hatching, don't just hatch. Think, does that work for me? This motion, does that motion work for me? Or, so I was going that way. Do I go from top to bottom? Makes a huge difference to your drawing. Huge difference, right? Thank you for the shares and thank you for the follows and the likes. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. Yeah, is everyone getting that? Any questions about what I'm doing? So like I say, work out what direction works better for you. Say, for example, if you have a, like here, these lines are a bit wobbly, right? If I have a drawing and I know drawing lines in this direction is not my favorite, I would just twist the drawing and then I would do it like that. Do you see what I'm saying? See, because this going in this direction is not my favorite. So you can twist, this is where I've twisted the paper around or turned it around, and now I can draw the lines nice and straight because that's my favorite direction to go in. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make sense? And if you've got any questions, please ask. Yes, good. So then what you find is, say for example here, I've kind of gone pretty much always in the same direction, right? So I haven't cross-hatched it, right? So what does that mean? You can practice straight lines or you can practice curved. like so, and curve this way. As parallel as humanly possible. I'm an old dog. I'm very old. And you can learn new tricks. I don't believe that's the truth. No. I think you can teach old dogs new tricks. So, that is something you can do, is practice arcs. Right? That's important. Especially if you've got an arced object or an object with a bit of a shape on it. So, for example, like here, I've used small arcs to follow the shape and the contours of the muscle, right? So now we've touched on singular. Now we can touch on cross hatching. So that means we're going to combine a lot of these hatch patterns together. Up and down. Then we go horizontally. So that means we've just combined the two. So we're going to do the same again. Top to bottom. Horizontally. We're going to add our third, which is diagonal. Then we're going to add our fourth. So we're going to go again, top to bottom. Diagonal one. And diagonal two. So, do I do courses? Well, this is pretty much a course anyway. As you guys know, I'm doing this for free to encourage young people to draw. I find it's a very, very important skill. That's why I use very basic tools like the Big Pen, because I use very basic paper like this. This is not fancy. This is just photocopy paper, but you can still get really good results with basic tools. And that's my goal, is to help others. How do you make the consistency and the line? So what I tend to tell people is, if I have my start point here, I focus my eye here. So when I go, like, I start here, but I'm focusing my eye here, and then I go straight down. Do you see what I mean? So if I let's do it again. My start, let me put start, right? I'm going to write start here. So these are my start points. And then I need to focus purely on, thank you, Sup. Thank you very much. So if these are my start points, right? I'll just draw little crosses here. I don't know if this is just something I've just made up again. But this is what I find helps me. A start point here, finish point here. 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 Right? So this is probably going to fail, but what I tend to do is put my pen at the start point, but I look at the finish point and go down. Start point, look at the finish point. Put the pen on the start point, look at the finish point. Pen on the start point, look at the finish point. Do you see what I mean? So when I'm here, I just do random lines. However, I know where I want to stop. I'm starting here, I'm going to finish here, roughly. And I'm always looking at my finish point. I'm not looking at my start. I'm not looking at the journey in between. I'm just looking at my finish point. In the same way that if I want to draw an arc from here to here, I don't look, I put my pen at the start point and then I arc it looking at the finish point. Looking at the finish point. So, love your work. Thank you. So, I think I've read that. I can finally draw hands because of you. Thank you, Linus. Lianos? Yeah, Lianos. Excuse me. And please share the live stream if you enjoy what you're seeing. As an AI artist, I do not need to go through all this training to make an image. Oh, I would be very careful. You're in the wrong place, mate. I wouldn't come in saying things like that. I really wouldn't come in here saying that. Oh, la 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 la. Yeah. You're in the wrong place, my friend. I think you should go. I'm sorry. Yeah, but you can find them on YouTube. You can find all of them on YouTube. And Leanne Home, if you don't have electricity, you are no longer an artist, right? So I would probably invest in some basic hand drawing skills. That's what I would do. However, what do I know? Good. Has anyone got any questions? Has anyone got any questions about what we've done up until now? Has anyone got any questions? No? Okay, well, we will keep going. So why should we even practice things like this? When, say, for example, you've got AI, like someone just said, they're an AI artist. They don't need to practice any of these kind of things. Because, right, I was just going to get to that point. I'll get to your point in a minute, V. Right, so when you're hatching, this is where the hatching becomes a lot more complicated, because hatching is not a matter of just making lines, drawing lines like this. That is one aspect of it, right? I'm barely joining. Okay, it's a lot of practice. This is what I say. It's not just lines. We're not just working out or drawing parallel lines, right? There are a few things you have to evaluate. You have to evaluate the stroke that you're making, right? What do I mean by that? If I press hard here, then I go lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, as light as possible. You can recognize that there is a slight difference here. So this is where your motion pressure is very important, because I can go hard and then go lighter and go hard and then lighter. Then we have the line that gradually fades away. It gradually fades away. So these are the things you have to be working out. It's almost like a science to the way you're moving your pen. You're pressing hard and you lift it. You press hard and you lift it again. This is quite tricky, right? But it's something that you can, if you realize that you have to work on it, then you can make it work for yourself, right? So for example, here, if I've got a curved object here and I need to hatch it, I'm sweeping that line. And as you can see, I've got this, if you look at my hand, I'm going, tsk. I've got this smooth motion, right? I'm trying to get that smooth motion and almost like a flick. You see? You see that? How you doing, Kim? Nice to see you, mate. You see that? And that is where I am pressing harder here, and then I lift off. Pressing harder, lift off. Lift off. Lift off. And then you can get that full motion, and then you drop the pen. Oh dear. So you understand what I mean? When does cross hatching come into play? Well, it depends. It depends. Would you? You could look at this and you could say, well, we haven't got any cross hatching here, but we've got layers of hatching here. And you could ask yourself the question, have I got enough or should I add more? That's down to you. That is down to you. You have to make those decisions. As like, say for example, I did this quite a while ago. I'm not sure when I did this. 27th of the 6th. Okay, so that was roughly around 3 months ago. And I can see I've improved already. And I look at certain areas and I think, this is not so good. And that's not so. Do you see what I mean? So as you get more into practicing it, then you'll get more into correcting it and understanding what you should and shouldn't do. Say for example, let's add some different hatch styles together. Let's add a bit of cross hatch here. Let's just start really combining some lines to see what effect they have on our artwork. When you start to add curved lines, it gives your artwork a shape. It gives it what do you call it? A surface, a bending surface. Like here we see a surface that is bending. When we draw hatching that is flat, straight, it looks flat. It flattens the artwork. However, you can, so for example, combine your hatching, and then all of a sudden you create that curve anyway. But we're going to have to talk about lighting as well, because anytime you break your hatch, it gives a light spot. For example, here, see, wherever I break the hatch, it creates a light spot. This is where hatching starts to get a little bit more complicated. Is that making sense to everyone? Oh dear. That's not very good. I had a bit of a headache this morning, I have to say. It helped you so much. Oh, that's good. That's very good. That's very good. I'm happy. Yes. Your third eye is now open. This is what I mean. Hatching is not... And this is what I think is like hatching is like a game changer for me, really. And there are levels to hatching. I'm still learning myself, right? I'm still learning. But I see every time I do it that... Let me just grab... See, I redrew this yesterday. Unfortunately, the camera must have had something on it because I filmed it and it's not very good quality. But I'll do another one. So this is what I did yesterday. And this is what I did maybe... When was that? I don't even know. I've got it on camera as well. But I did that a few months, not even 2 months ago. And you can see the quality in the hatch has just jumped. It's just jumped. If you were to compare the two, you'd say, oh, this guy's not very good. This guy's much better, right? But even though I drew both of them. So when you're hatching, you have to be really in the moment, so to say, right? You can't just hatch and think, oh, let me hope for the best, because then it won't help. It won't help you. I'll post this one on my YouTube. The first part I think I'll have to cut out because there's a lot of editing and there was some camera issues. So I will have to check that one and post it later on. Good. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper now, right? When I hatch, say for example, let's just choose some muscle in the leg or whatever. We'll just choose an object. So when I hatch something, let's draw a circle. Let's draw a couple. Right, like I said before, if you draw straight lines on it, it flattens it, right? But you can remedy that. It's not totally flat. You can still remedy by adding some curved lines. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've got curved on top of vertical. If you want to keep it nice and curved throughout, you add curved lines simply, like so. So now we've almost got like a marble. It looks like a ball or a marble type, and it looks like it has a mass. This looks, it kind of looks like it's got a mass, but not the same as here. So these are the little things that you have to think about. You could do the same again. Curving, I'm curving every time. Light source is up here, right? So let's say that there's a torch shining from here. And then we can hatch it again. We can cross hatch it. Now we've got a cross hatch, slightly different effect. Principle is the same. The darkest point would be here, where the ball is touching the surface. Look at that. We've got a pretty cool 3D ball with a few strokes. Hello, Jake and Emma. How you doing? Let me see what's going on in the chat. No, not much to say. Good. Okay, good. Everybody must be working away. That sounds great. So what you can also do is you hatch on top of hatch, right? Say, for example, if I hatch just like this here, I'm always bearing in mind where my light source is. Where is my light source? And my light source is coming from up here. All right? I'm good, thanks. So now you have to imagine light casts shade. So that means this would be the lightest point here. Then we would have our middle. Then we would have our darker area of shade. Does that make sense to everyone? And then here, right at the bottom, would be darker still. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone happy with that? Yes, right? So that's something you have to bear in mind when you are drawing and when you are, it's like exactly, it's exactly that. And it's a gradient. It's a gradient of shadow. So if we call that a gradient of shadow or shade, when you draw your artwork, zone it off. You don't have to zone it off literally, or you could. You could use your pencil and zone that off and say that is zone dark grey, mid grey, light grey. So when you are hatching your artwork, for example, you hatch it. I'm going to go, this is my lightest grey. Imagine these lines are not, these border lines are not here. Then we go our middle grey. Then we go dark grey. And then we've got a semi-smooth transition between the grey shades. Is everyone getting that? Is everyone understanding that? Thank you for the shares and for the follows, right? Good. Please hit the shares and the like button if you like what you see. How do you shade? Yeah, that's a tricky one. Depends. Well, I'm on an A4 piece of paper, and obviously I'm shading with a big pen. With a pencil, it's a lot easier. A pencil shading is 5,000 times easier. But with this type of thing, it's quite tricky, because if we have, say for example, we've got, let me think of a good example, an easier example, instead of the one I had in my mind. So let's go circle one. This is not to do with the massive area, because I wouldn't shade a large area with this pen. I would choose not to. But when you start having overlapping shapes, then you start to add overlapping shading. Do you see what I'm saying? And then now we can go a little bit darker here. So we got our zone 2 and we got our zone 1. Here would be fully dark, right? So now we are thinking purely about where the light source is coming from, where our lighter zones are, for example here, and where our darker zones are. So that's what you have to evaluate. Yeah, you do that. You do that. You guys should be sponsoring me. There you go. How do you know what to shade on exact 27? What you need to know is, I would start with basic objects, right? Like so. Right, we got here. If this is a flat object, and this is a flat object on top of it, like I don't know, 2 coins. This would be a really dodgy looking coin. This, if we've got light coming from here, this surface here on this coin here, let's just pretend that that looks like a really good, well-drawn coin. And like that, excuse me, like so. So I'm going to ask you a question. What's your name? 27. Where should I add the grey area? Where would the shadow be cast? Where would the shadow be? If we've got a light shining from this direction here, and here, this surface here would be really light. Exactly, the second coin, right? And chances are the shadow would be the same shape as the second coin around here. Oh, I need to darken that a bit. But it would be back here, as you said. That would be where the shadow would be cast. Obviously, if we were to shine the light in a different direction, if we've got the same coins again, right? We've got the same coins again. I'll draw it really badly again. If we have the light shining from a different direction, that changes where the shadow is cast as well. That's something you have to understand as well. Even if we have a stick here, I'm going to draw a stick in the floor. If we've got a piece of wood here, and we've got a direct light coming from here, that would cast the shadow in this direction. If we shift the light around here, that would cast the shadow in this direction, and so on. Light source hits the object, shadow. Is that correct, Kim? Kim's probably going, oh God, what's he just said now? He just said it wrong. I can't believe what he's just said. Is everyone getting that? Is everybody happy? Good. That's all right, mate. Good. No, Desi, what's wrong, mate? What's wrong? On people, where would I target? Yeah, hold on, we'll get there. 27, no problem. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. And if you really like what you see, please share. Desi's confused. Tell me, mate, what's the problem? Idra, how you doing, mate? What's the problem, Desi? Tell me, mate. What's going on? What don't you understand? Idra, you getting this? You got this already? So let's do another. Let me do that again here. If we've got, it's always important to understand things in their most basic form, right? It's like, I don't know, trying to learn a martial art and you want to do the flying kicks and you don't even know how to stand properly. You have to do everything yes, at a slow pace, right? Learn at a good slow pace. So check this out, Desi, right? If we've got a stick here in the floor. I'm going to put some little fragments so you can see that that's a floor. Right? So we've got this stick here. A light source could be a torch, it could be the sun, it could be, what else could it be? Fire. That's a light source, right? So if you imagine that this stick here has a universal light. So what is a universal light? A universal light will be the sun because it's everywhere, right? So that would be our universal light. However, because the sun has a direct direction in which it shines in, it does shine everywhere, but it does cast shadows because, say for example, if we have the sun coming up from here, I'm going to draw a really cool sun. It's coming up, right? Before the sun came up, there was a universal light, right? So there wasn't any specific hard light coming from anywhere. But now the sun is coming up, it would shine in this direction. This is the horizon. It's coming up like this and it's going to go back down like this. So that means it would cast a shadow. I'm going to use some magic colors now. That means it would cast a shadow this way on our stick. The further it moves upwards, the direction would gradually change like this. This is the shadow now, right? Even though it shouldn't be colored, but this is the shadow. When the sun is directly here, it's just like when you see the sun move in front of your house, the shadow should be there. Sundown is roughly around here. So then it's going to shift the shadow there from here to here, right? So it's the shine is coming from here to here. And the last one is the shine is coming from here to here. That would be maybe, let's say 7 or 8 o'clock. And then when the sun vanishes, all the shadows go. So a harsh light because sun is small in relation to the view of the subject. There you go. That's the man that should be doing this. When does lighting affect the size of the shadow? That's a good one. I'm not sure. It depends. Because we have multiple light sources. Like now, where I'm sitting, I've got a few light sources. So you've not got any really strong shadow or overpowering light at the moment. But for me, if it depends, I think Kim's more qualified to talk about it than me, to be honest. The shadow starts to fade. If you look at your shadow closest to the floor starts to fade to the point that you don't see it anymore. It just depends on how far and if you can implement that in your artwork. That is a tricky one. Genuine question. If a pole would be in a room. Well, no, this is what I'm saying. I'm sitting in a room and I've got a light source above me. I've got one on the left. I've got another window on the right. it's like when you have a photo shoot. Kim, you want to jump in there, mate? This is your ball game. If you have multiple light sources, this reduces the shadow. In fact, Kim, you can, if you've got the time. Yeah, you can. Yeah, for sure. That's a shame that this is all coming up now. I think we should do this and another one. We should really organise it, mate. Take a football. Exactly, because it's got multiple light sources. Exactly, Jay. And sometimes you might even see four. I was just gonna say you might see even four shadows. Exactly. And if you had a stronger light, then you probably see this stronger light would overpower the other lights. Very good. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Good. Okay, so have I run out of paper again? I need to get some. No, I can fill it up here. So I think it was 27 that was asking about. Oh, you're welcome, Keanu. You're welcome. Genuine question. And that was a genuine question because we're all here to learn. We are all here to learn. I know a little bit about lighting, but he's a photographer, so if you should check him out for things like that, and hopefully he will do his own lives on lighting and so on. That would be a good idea. And thank you for sharing the live. So let's go down my road now. So now here we've got some body parts and I've added some hatching to it, right? So I use these same principles here on a body part. So for example, yeah, that's all right. We're all learning. We are all learning. So if I draw a body part, like let's just draw the shoulder again. I'm just going to draw a shoulder. And then let's draw a bicep. And then we've got this muscle here, tricep, and so on. So we've got basic arm. Like so, right? And it's going into the sun. As you know, my practice sheets go a bit mad, but that's all good. I'm sure you guys are used to it by now. So we've got this arm here, right? So we've just got a wireframe. I'm not going to go into the actual anatomy of the arm as such today, but we can do an arm drawing tutorial at some point. Salutations, Dread. It's a tattoo. Where's the tattoo? I don't see where do you see a tattoo? Do you see a tattoo? I don't see one. But that's good if you like that. So now we have to think about our zones, right? Our light zones, right? If we add the body to this, let's just add the body to this, and now it's got the sun on it, but that's okay. We add the chest here. Got the lats, and then we got rib cage. This is gonna be crazy now. Oh, this is gonna get crazy. So what I would suggest that you all do, let me do it first actually, is to zone everything off. These have got to be the worst live streams ever. I just draw over everything. Oh, I'm stressing everyone out with my chaos. So let's zone this arm out, right? So if I'm looking at this shoulder, I'm like, okay, I need to hatch this shoulder, right? So I'm thinking about where the muscle dips. So for example, here. So everything I show you in green is my level 1. So my level 1 would be my darkest area. So I would mentally make a note of this green area here, this green area here, and so on. I'll probably add a little bit here, and then add some here, because these are the areas that have the least light. Yeah, but it takes time. It takes time. Everything takes time. So now what I would do is I would add my hatch. See that? I've marked it out in green, the area that I want hatched up. And now we have just added one layer of hatching, and now we've got it. I never knew. Now, but I know, but no, I can't. Yeah, you can get this. You can get this. So look, if I've put in my level 1, right? So just let's just type L1, just so you know. Level 1 of hatching is this green area. That is my darkest area. So now of shading, and now I'm going to take out all of the light here. And now you can see we've got an area of the body. Oh, I needed to add my level 1 here, actually, excuse me. Look at that. You see that? Did you see that? Do you see the difference here now? And if I've got, this is my level 1, I'm going to add my level 2 of hatching here, which is slightly lighter. I'm going to add my level 2 of hatching here, slightly lighter. And I'm going to add my level 2 here. Now you can start, you're starting to see the form take shape. Please hit the like button if you like what you see. As you know, I am doing this for free. Huh? Coloring page. But there are so many different styles of hatching, right? There are so many different styles of hatching. This is just one way. This is just this way, I suppose. But you've got so many different ways where people do double strokes. So they go like this twice. Like the Marvel style hatch is like kind of thicker and thinner. You know, these are different styles of hatching. See that? That's a totally different style of hatching to this. These are single stroke and these are double. You just have to find the one that you feel that you can excel in, I suppose. But that's another form of hatching. Thank you, Spot. I'm just going to call you Spot. Full stop. So then this is where what I would do is I would just grab random objects. Like if you've got a body part that you're drawing, like, oh, okay, let me draw the bicep again. Let me draw the shoulder again. Oops, let's get that a bit bigger there. And then we've got this muscle here. Then we've got the tricep. See, now we've got our zones. I'm thinking, okay, the top here would be quite well lit, right? Top here, well lit. And then gradually it should get darker. So that's zoned off, right? Here it should be well lit, right? Here again, less, and then it gets gradually darker. Does that make sense? And then if I was to hatch it, I'm going to go less here. Here should be well lit, okay, and here should be darker. Now we've zoned it all off, and I think that makes a lot of sense. because now we can see that this arm has got varying degrees of shading. Thank you for the follows, by the way. Does that make sense to everyone? And thank you very, very much for the gifts, Ren. So we are nearly an hour in. So that's how I did that. So wherever you want it to stay well lit, you do not add much hatching. Wherever you want to show depth, you add more. So say for example, when you're hatching, avoid things to avoid. I would say, if we've got an arm again, let's just draw on any kind of object here. Try and avoid colouring it in like that. If you don't have to do that, don't do it. It's not a golden rule, but I prefer to build the hatch in levels like so. And then you always see a little bit of the paper underneath. Build it up in nice, gentle layers. Because then here I've got a lot of work to connect it. Do you see what I mean? I'm going to have to... If you want it to be really, really smooth, right? So, see, now I've got this kind of strange line, you know, but here I can kind of feather it out. And I don't have that line, but that could be your style. That could be something that you want. Who knows? So as I say, it's not a golden rule, but for me, I try to avoid that hard line. But if you are drawing for, I don't know, manga or Marvel or something like that, they do have these hard lines. Just know that there is a difference, as here. This for me is a smoother transition, but it's not necessarily the only way to do it. Exactly, it's not gradual. Here, it's a bit broken, but it could be what you want. Because in anime, they do have very hard, let's say, I don't know, they have hard shading, blocks of shading, for example, and then very light or not so present, I would say, hatch lines. On a pillar, well, you need to work out, if this is your pillar, you need to work out where your light source is. If this is a pillar, I would say, okay, my light source is coming from here. I would just hatch that up on this side here. And then I think you're pretty much done. You're welcome. Just think about where your light source is, and then obviously when you draw any pillars you draw after that would have exactly the same shadow, or any objects for that matter. If you have a ball here next to your pillar, excuse me, the light would be on the ball exactly the same as on the pillars, or people for that matter. And then you've got, don't forget to cast your shadows, all going in the same direction, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, is everyone getting it? Any questions before I wind this down? I'm just going to scribble away while I wait. And like I say, I'm no expert, but I'm learning. I'm still learning a lot myself. What if it's, well, if it's reflective or shiny, it doesn't affect the shadow. It doesn't affect the shadow. If it's see-through, then yes, it might affect the shadow. But if it's not, if it's just a shiny object, it's not going to change anything. From what I can imagine, it just has to be. It's whether it's transparent or opaque. It's like if you look at a marble, you know, like a marble, these what the kids used to play with, a glass ball. If you shine a light on it, it doesn't cast a heavy shadow. But if you put a football next to it, it would cast a heavy shadow because it blocks the light. So, for example, now if this was see-through, okay, let's add some lines to this, right? So this ball here has got lines on it, or this surface. If this was see-through, we would still see the lines going through here, and it would cast a less heavy shadow here, as opposed to this one would cast a very heavy shadow because it's a solid object. But this shadow would be very soft, or a lot softer. Is it possible to shade a window? Yeah, I suppose well, it depends. Because if you draw a window, if this is my window, a window is not totally transparent. You do see, and obviously this is another thing, I have never covered this before. You do actually, your window actually catches reflections from outside. So this is why when you look at a sheet of glass, it's not totally, you can still see through it. You see, you could look at that and you say, oh yeah, that reminds me of glass. So in anime, they use that. Sometimes you might even see the remnants of a tree, because the glass reflects what it sees, right? Or not what it sees, what it catches, the reflection it catches. I'm losing my words there. Sorry about that. So you get that reflection. So that for me would look like a pane of glass. Getting a slight reflection, and you can almost see objects in it, identify objects in it. Never thought of reflection. I haven't done that actually. That's a good point. I like that. Might look into that. But if you were to look at that, you'd say, oh yeah, that does look like a window actually, and it's got a tree in the background. What if a sphere is like a mirror ball? You don't want to draw. Yeah, we're slightly going off. We're going into reflections now, slightly different. I'm not really prepared for that, but if you're, that's something you have to, I would have to look at it. If you've got a ball in front of a mirror, then there are too many factors that I don't know. Because you would definitely see the ball in the mirror. You'd probably see a little bit of shadow on the floor. It's quite complicated. But I'm not here to do your artwork for you. I'm not here to do your artwork for you. The ball is the mirror. Well, if the ball is the mirror, that means the mirror would be a solid object, no? So that would be like a football. You could have a mirror ball, let's call it M ball here, and then you could have a football, F ball. If this is opaque, the reflection would be exactly the same. I think. Does everyone agree with me on that one? Because it's a mirror is not transparent. You can't see through a mirror in the same way you can't see through a football. A two-sided mirror. Even if it's two-sided, that means it is still equally opaque. But we're digressing. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that one. So let's stick to the theme. We were talking about this is what I don't like to do. I don't like to mix it too much because then it goes into a totally different direction. And then, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So, anyone got any questions about this stuff? Anyone got any questions about this type of stuff? And I'm throwing a little bit now. Trying to work out what I could explain to you quickly before I wind it down. As I say, there are many ways of hatching things, right? You can hatch things with broken lines, experiment, with hatching, say, for example, like this, to get different effects. Don't just go traditional. You can say, oh, that reminds me of some wood texture. You can hatch like this. I suppose then it becomes more a pattern, right? But you can use that in the same way, because it's like a broken line type hatch. So this is maybe what you should do when you look at other people's artwork. You can start looking at their patterns and see how they pattern stuff. And always think about hatching as a source or a way of getting rid of light or showing shaded areas. That's the same. Fabric would be the same as what I told you to do before. Fabric is the same. In the same way that you can hatch a body is the same way you can hatch some fabric by zoning it off. If this is some fabric, I literally just zone that off. And now I've got light sources here, fabrics bending there, so we've got some fabric like so. Pretty cool stuff. Good. Okay, well, I've been going for 1 hour now, so I am going to wind this one down. Thank you to everyone that attended. Much appreciated. I hope you all learned something, and thank you very much for the kind gifts. And nobody even said, oh, you're not on camera today. So that's good. I probably won't do it on camera anymore. I'll probably not do it on camera anymore. Thank you for your demonstrations and explanations. You're welcome, Sandra. So all I ask of you is that you send this link to your friends. You subscribe to my YouTube. That would be really nice. Help me grow my YouTube. It was good fun. What? Yeah, anyway. Okay, have a good one. I'm just waving at the screen. I've just waved at the screen, but I didn't realise that I'm not even on the screen. So maybe next time I will actually show my face again because I can have a shave and stuff like that. What? You just learned to draw abs today. Brilliant. Good stuff. Nice to see. There you go. You can use that for your abs. You can use that. Well, these are not really abs. Well, just the side. Oh, here. You can use that for your abs. Okay. Take care. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.